Hey everyone, I'm Albina, and in this video, I wanted to share how I got started with homeschooling, how it completely shifted my path as an entrepreneur, a writer, and even a storyteller. Now, before this video starts, I wanted to let you know that this isn't really like a how-to video or a list of reasons why to homeschool. This is just my personal experience and how homeschool has helped me develop into the person I am today. I'm just here to share my story and how I went from public school in New York to homeschooling here in Georgia, and how we made the jump and the hurdles we had to go through and how we eventually came to where we are today. So originally, I grew up in the Bronx, New York City, and I would live there for around 10 years before I moved here to Georgia in 2017. And throughout my elementary and middle school years, I maintained pretty decent grades. I would learn things like coding, develop my passion for the violin, but the greatest thing I had a passion for was storytelling. And I really began to explore that a lot throughout middle school and somewhat into my elementary years. Writing is just one of the main ways I get my stories out on paper. So writing's one of my biggest passions. So I stayed in traditional school all the way up until 8th grade, and that's when the pandemic hit in the summer of 2020. When Corona happened, everything shut down. And like most people, I was stuck indoors all summer. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but they used to do this thing called digital learning days, and yeah, those were the worst. So it was like when you had to turn in assignments, do Zoom calls just online, and we weren't really used to doing that back then. So this big jump just made things a lot more stressful, and I really hated school for that period of time, but I still managed to get through it and graduate my 8th grade class. And it wasn't long before my parents developed this summer schedule for me and my siblings, similar to like traditional school, except with a bit of a twist. This schedule was focused mostly on personal development. Things like listening to business podcasts, reading books on mindset, exercising, meditation, goal setting, and even money management. Basically things that would set us up for the future and the long run ahead. And if I'm being honest, at first I did not like this at all. Like I just found it so boring, especially during my summer. Like I know I was doing nothing all day, but the last thing I want to do during the summer is listen to a guy talk about business and real estate and boring stuff. Especially when they made us take classes on personal finance and stock investments. Like it was very boring, to be honest with you. And throughout the summer, my parents also made me read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and other business books around success and not just money management in general, but around developing your mindset around gaining riches. We also took the time to study many billionaires like Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, to see how they were able to come up with their ideas for business and how they came up with the mindset of never giving up and to just keep going and pursuing whatever business endeavor you want to pursue. And during my downtime, I also explored storytelling way more. I would always practice writing. I wasn't really writing anything major in particular, but it was like I was practicing my skills. Whenever I had an idea come to mind, I would just make sure I got it down on paper and so I wouldn't lose it. So I felt like I was mostly outlining stories, drafting it out, and I felt like I started getting better at writing that summer, so that was great. So toward the end of the summer, my family received news that schools were going to open up back again in the fall. So at this moment, we kind of had to make a decision. And this was still around a time where COVID was still a big issue. So of course our safety was a concern, but we also realized that we just created our own schooling schedule just from home. So would it make sense to go back? This was the kind of thought process my family was thinking. And in my opinion, I wasn't really sure either. Like I was 14, about to enter high school, and I was doing pretty good in school already. So would it make sense to really leave all that behind and go full in on homeschooling? My parents sat me and my siblings down and had a meeting, and they asked, what if we homeschool full-time rather than going back to school again? Eventually, we took some time to think about it. We contemplated the decision, but at the end of the day, we did make a choice. And our choice was to go full-time homeschooling. We turned our small 2-month summer routine, and then we transformed it into a full homeschooling curriculum for the entire year. One that focused on business, personal growth, and financial literacy. And looking back at that meeting that we had, I feel like that really changed the course of our lives forever. Because without homeschooling, I don't think we would really be where we are right now. So during my first year of homeschooling, there was mostly two things I was focused on. One, this board game idea me and my sister were thinking about, and the second thing was stock investing, learning about stocks, the stock market, how it works, the ups and downs. Now, because this was 2020 at the time, the market was at an all-time low. Like, this was the lowest the market has been in a very long time. After 2008, the market just kept going up and up and up and up. But 2020, that dip was a great buying opportunity. So if anything, it was a great opportunity to get into homeschooling and learn about stock investing at that time, because that's what caused my account to grow from around 1,000 at the time to 2K. Now, I would soon lose all of this, but just that experience alone had taught me so much about the stock market that it's important to buy at the dips. So having that real life, tangible experience front end, I felt like that was really valuable in shaping my knowledge now. And this board game idea that we were working on, this was me and my sister, it was around the idea of magic systems and magical lore, similar to like Harry Potter, but it's like all these different characters would have their own special types of abilities. We didn't fully develop it completely, but it was a great starting point for what we would create later on, our first novel. And so in my second year of homeschooling, my mom created this idea for us, like what if we could transform our board game into a novel? And so at the time I was like, wow, that was a great idea, because a novel is easier to create than a board game. And it would also help us develop our idea a lot more. And then maybe after me and my sister do sell our novel later on, we can raise enough money to invest it into a board game in the future, or maybe even a video game or a movie or something even bigger. So I feel like this novel idea really helped to kickstart what we have today. We'll come up with more videos in the future talking about this book process that we went through, but all in all, homeschooling is the reason why we ended up starting it. And so I felt like in this book process that we started to go on for the last 3 years, it really helped me explore my passion a lot more deeply. Like through this, my passion is now a product people can now buy. So I felt like that was a really good idea that our mom gave us. So thank you, Mom, if you're watching this. And so that brings me here today. Right now, me and my sister are on the verge of publishing our first novel. Right now, we're at the final stages. It's our formatting process. So this means that we're basically getting the book to basically look like a book. It's not going to be digital anymore. We're going to have our cover ready. Our pages are going to be formatted and set correctly, and the text is going to look better. And we're also going to have images in our book to bring it to life. So right now, it really feels like it's becoming this tangible product that we're going to put into the hands of other people, and homeschooling has made it possible. Thanks for listening to my story, and if you have one of your own, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.